Hello guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. My name is Nukumalumloyi and I'm a professional quantity surveyor. I know it's been a while. I've been very busy and I couldn't shoot any of my videos. Yeah, because I've been occupied really, but I'm committed to this. I am committed to sharing information about quantity surveying, helping one, two, or many people out there who actually need a content like this. Yes, without any waste of time, I'll be talking about what a quantity surveyor that is registered can specialize in, right? And what I decided to specialize in as a professional quantity surveyor. So when you're a candidate quantity surveyor still pursuing your registration, it is recommended that you work strictly as a quantity surveyor, because as you work strictly as a quantity surveyor, then you're going to be able to be involved in all 6 stages of quantity surveying, which is what is required of you in order to register. So then after you've registered as a professional quantity surveyor, I feel like that is then a perfect time to transition to anything that you want to do, as long as it's not too different from quantity surveying, right? So yes, then what can you do as a professional quantity surveyor? You can be a project manager. You can do project management. You can be a contract manager. You can be a contract administrator. You can be a buyer, a procurement manager. You can be an estimator. You can be a cost engineer. You can be a commercial manager. Yeah, you can be many other things that I may have forgotten to include, right? So personally, I chose to transition to cost engineering, right? Because I'm a numbers person, so it made sense to be a cost engineer. You don't have to really transition. You can still remain as a quantity surveyor. I'm not saying that people should transition to anything else other than quantity surveying. Obviously it depends on your career path, right? Personally, I wanted to do something that is different from quantity surveying. Yes, I became a cost engineer, and as a cost engineer, like I said, cost engineering is focused on numbers, and actually it's a little bit different from quantity surveying, right? If you've done quantity surveying before, obviously it's not going to be difficult for you to understand, right? But each and every company do things in their own way. Like even with quantity surveying, you can do quantity surveying in a specific way in company A, but the moment you go to company B, you find out that they have their own ways of doing things. They have their own policies that they need to follow. They have their own rules. There's just a lot that you still need to adjust in, besides doing the work itself. So yeah, with cost engineering, the difference between cost engineering and quantity surveying is that with quantity surveying, we do everything. We are involved in contract administration. We are involved in valuations, in preparing the payment certificates. We are involved in tender stage, doing the adjudications of tender. We're involved also in the estimating part of the work as well. We do the estimates, we prepare the bills of quantities, we do the measurements, the remeasurements, and all of that. Whereas with cost engineering, you only focus in the cost management part of work, right? So cost engineers are mostly required in in bigger projects like your mining projects, your oil and gas projects, your infrastructure projects, right? Because those are big projects, and you can't have one quantity surveyor who is involved in everything, like from estimate up until the final account. So then in those type of projects, they appoint an estimator to do estimating, they appoint a cost engineer to do the cost engineering, they which is the cost management part of work. You have your engineers who do the evaluations, right? You have your buyers who do the tendering and the adjudication of tenders, right? You have your contract managers, contract administrators who deal with the contract part of things, right? Because the projects are too big, and like I said, one person can't handle all of those roles by themselves. And also they are risky. Those are the type of projects that are risky as well. So it's better if you have different people doing different portions and still be able to collaborate, right? Bring in information that is required, to finish the project. So yes, I worked as a cost engineer in an EPCM firm, which was something different for me, as a person who has a background in consulting, right? And especially from the client side, because I always been on the client side, right, of things. But now I had to be a cost engineer in an EPCM firm. Different approach, but at the end of the day, your numbers are still the same. So therefore, just to go back to a difference between quantity surveying and cost engineering, I've already explained what quantity surveyors do. With cost engineering, I told you that it's cost management, the part of things, right? As a cost manager, I didn't do the estimates. The estimates were done by the estimators, but I would obviously take the estimate, right, and be able to populate a cost report, which we also called a dashboard, using what the estimate that I got from the estimator, right? Then with that estimate, I'm able to have my budget portion of the cost report. Yes, so as part of cost management, I would on monthly basis, I would load invoices, I would load requisitions, I will do the receipting, and also I would also track the variations, right? If there's any variation in the work, then I will discuss with the project manager the variation and also prepare the variation order, right? Change order, compensation event, depending on the contract that is being used, right? And then obviously this variation order, then it goes to the client for the client to approve, right? And we also wait for the client to approve these variation orders before we could continue with the work that is within the variation order, right? But it is my work to pick up these variations in advance, right, before the work can be done, or before we could be over budget because of these variations, right? I also track, as a cost engineer, I also track the savings as well. I make the project manager aware as well of the saving that we have within the project, right? So that with that saving, a project manager can be able to go back to the client and ask for more work, and make them aware that you as a client actually don't have to pay us extra because the project already has a saving. Right. So yeah, it's quite an interesting work. There's more that we do, but I was just giving you a summary of what a cost engineering look like. And like I said, each and every company does things in its own way, and this is the way in which I've done it. But if you guys do it differently, then yeah, it's interesting to share in the comment section your experience in the cost management or cost engineering, and how did you feel about it, or how do you feel about it compared to how you feel about quantity survey. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching my video. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.